Bonjour and welcome to Pyanodon mods are infamous for being the hardest, longest, complexest and craziest overall mods for Factorio. But even so, you start the game by mining coal, iron, stone and copper like any other playthrough. The immediate difference you might spot is that anything you burn other than wood produces ashes. Why does wood produce no ash? There are a lot of intermediate parts, so automation is the key play here. But to get automation we first need some power. The ratios are inverted here, hence this abomination. 2 boilers, 1 steam engine. Oh, and don't forget about the ash. Stone is also different, for it contains kerogen. Kerogen is a source of power, making this very inefficient setup kind of autonomous. Automation science is a lot different. It requires this new resource called native flora gathered with these flora collectors. You can really appreciate the love and effort the developers put in the mod, because for one item you have various sprites, and it's not only about this flora. Wood comes from logs by cutting down trees and can be automated with the wood processing unit. Soil is next, and it is almost free thanks to this soil extractor. Here comes the lab. It can take all the 11 sciences for some reason. While it searches for automation, I explored a bit. To gain some time, I put up a small mold for air core inductors, gears and small parts. They are used in every craft possible. Yes, these are burner assembling machine. More ashes incoming. I now have enough resources for a smelting array. I just keep it reasonably small because it takes 8 hours for one plate. I have already quite a lot of ashes and I know it is just gonna get worse. There is no solution yet for them, but it will come. With this melting array finished, I can start to think of a main bus design. It is not really the best, especially because splitters are hidden after the simple circuit boards. But I mean, it's a main bus, so what can go wrong?
Ça, c'est de la merde.
Now that we get the level of incompetence we are dealing with, we can continue our idea of a main bus. Don't worry about the ratios, it is too early to get them right. No need to hurry, just keep the bus bigger. Belts, arms, electric poles, pipes and undergrounds. Steam engines, that goes into pretty much every tier 1 building. Boilers, burner mining drills, also part of many buildings. Burner assembling machines. Now I feel more confident to automate the first science. First, more small parts, then planter boxes, et voilà! But that leads to needing more iron. Ah, yes, I'm using early bots for my sanity. They are as useful as they are cute. You may have noticed, dear viewer, that the screen is cut on the edges, and that's totally my fault, and it takes me quite a while to notice that I screwed up my OBS settings. I'm very sorry about that. Please bear with me as we move on to steel production. To produce steel, we first need coke. We get coke from coal and coal from raw coal. Yeah, we were mining raw coal from the beginning. For that, we use a destructive distillation column and get 3 byproducts, which are iron oxide, tar and coal gas. It is the mod's tutorial for learning how to deal with byproducts. Iron oxide can be smelted into iron, which is great. Tar can be stored in a tailings pond of 1 million liters storage capacity. And coal gas can be vented until we need it. Oh, all of that installation already put my power grid in a coma. Oh. In the meantime, I launched the limestone production. It is the same as soil. The soil extractor transforms water into limestone. Electricity is a big problem throughout the playthrough, so is ash. But we have ways to deal with it now that we have some steel. We can't smelt steel in a furnace directly. We need an advanced foundry for that. This is the main reason I love these bots. These buildings are called solid separator. They are the ones that are going to help us to get rid of the ash. One can deal with 10 ashes per second and give coal dust, which is a burnable fuel of 3 megawatts, the same as raw coal, iron oxide and soot. Soot can be separated into multiple useful ores and a bit of ash. We can't smelt aluminum, lead or zinc yet, but it is coming. As a matter of fact, a few seconds after unlocking the mining with fluids deck, I obtained my first aluminum plate. But why stop here? Let's mine the damn thing with these fluid burner mining drills and that coal gas we are producing. And of course, since it is a burner drill, there will be ash. Then we just melt it. It is very inefficient. 10 ores for one plate? Come on. But there are better recipes for later. Then we can bring it on the bus with the steel lane. Now it is Teen's turn. Instead of coal gas we need steam. The smelting ratio is the same though, one plate for 10 ores. And it is very slow. Now that we got aluminum plates, we can automate pump jacks that need engine units. This will help tremendously to control fluid and gas. This is me trying to put burner mining drills and steam engines on the bus. I wanted to control it via circuit network, but it's a terrible idea because I'm really bad at it. The next step in our agenda is zinc processing, but I don't have any zinc patches near me, so I create a car and go for a ride. Well, that was quick, but the build will have to wait just a bit. This design sucks. Let's try something else. Okay, that seems better, but it's really not actually. As the base keeps growing, so does the need for iron. With the crusher technology, it is now possible to crush iron ore into processed iron with these jaw crushers. We get some stone as byproduct, but the smelting ratio is much better. As for the stone, let's just do some landfill with it. It's a bit more complex than its vanilla counterpart, but nothing too crazy. I told you it was no better. Glass technology unlocked, but before that, I need more power. In order to create glass, we need to mine quartz ore with a crystal mine, then melt said quartz in a glasswork with some fuel, can be gas or liquid, and then forge it into proper glass. The glasswork necessitates 10 megawatts of power, which is quite a lot actually. Tar is very valuable. It is the equivalent of oil in vanilla, and as such we can crack it or process it, as we say in Pyanodon, into multiple usable fuels. There are two main recipes. The main things we are after are aromatics to mine zinc ore, gasoline because it is an excellent fuel value, and creosote for treated wood. This is quite complex. Here we went like so. We began with tar processing to get middle oil, creosote, pitch and anthracene oil. Middle oil is processed into carbolic light and naphthalene oil. Carbolic oil and naphthalene oil give creosote. Light oil is cracked into gasoline and aromatics. Anthracene oil allows both coke and gasoline to be made. And finally, pitch can be processed into coke, light, naphthalene and anthracene oil and some hydrogen that we vent into the atmosphere. And now we have a circular processing economy. Et voilà! It is quite a mess, I do agree, but it works, so I'm fine with that. The second recipe is more straightforward since it gives aromatics, which we keep, carbon dioxide and flue gas, which we vent, and rich clay, which we turn into stone bricks, with some sand, which is some gravel crushed, which is some stone crushed. As the solder research finishes, we get our first lead plate. We continue forward, and now it is time to do some acetylene gas to mine lead. This gas is made of lime turned into calcium carbide. Add a bit of water into a gasifier and you get acetylene. As you can see, the distances can be quite inconvenient. And now the only thing we got is trains at home. The smelting ratios are the same for aluminium, it's 10 ore to get 1 plate. I built some more planter boxes because we're about to go gardening. We begin with sap, these yellow balls we've been collecting while cutting down trees. It is fairly simple. We put the sap we got into a botanical nursery to get sap seeds. Then we use said seeds to grow a sap tree in the same building. These sap trees are acting as modules for the sap extractor. Once you get to this point, sap is almost free. And you had a glimpse of what gardening is all about. But sap is a bit too simple. Let's get to moondrops. Since moondrops do not grow on this planet, we have to create a codex of the plant. Then we need to put some agar into an empty dish to create a petri dish. And to get agar, we need to grow seaweed. Add steam to it and there you go. Shove it all together with planter boxes and you'll get your first module. With these modules, you can create seeds, and with seeds, you can have a better supply of moondrops. These are long processes, like real gardening. And the technicality is to get enough seeds and enough trees, but not too much, otherwise it can clog up. Can you believe we're all doing that to get some methane? I show you quickly a ceramic build, it will come handy for this new recipe of air core inductors and many more. I have to admit that I'm very proud of this build. With lead plates, it is now possible to create some storage tanks. This one is my favorite. Oh, by the way, this is the new recipe for air core inductors. This concrete build is just to get some starting concrete. I will not be able to cover all the base in concrete, and I do not see the point since it's only a starter base, but at least it allows me to get rid of the slate lime and the stone. I may not have unlocked all the circuits yet, but it doesn't stop me to get these sweet researches out of the way and unlock the a bit less hard difficulty mode. Bob's inserters are the best and I use them all the time and I don't care if you don't like them. Before I get to the circuitry, I need more power. I know, I sound like a broken record and it is a recurring theme of the playthrough. Whatever, I go southwest and exploit this tiny 254 million raw coal patch. I hope that's enough considering these are the recommended settings for Pyanodon by the Pyanodons dev. Alright, enough yapping around, this is the moment you've been waiting for. It is time for circuits. To make a simple circuit board, we need 6 different ingredients, and 2 of them are quite difficult. The rest is fairly easy because we all have what we need on the bus. So, solder is done. Then vacuum tube with some graphite is done. But I'm lacking copper. You know the drill, just build more. And be wary of the ash. Back to it with high power resistors and ceramic capacitors. Easy, isn't it? But now it's time to tackle the 2 difficult ones, the cuisine battery and the printed circuit substrate. Let's mine that delicious zinc with our aromatics hardly gain. Then we produce some saline water with stone. Yes, there is a recipe with salt, but we are not quite there yet. Do you believe it? We have to garden even more now because we're after logs and wood and 2 main products out of wood, which are raw fiber and cellulose. Okay, so first we grow moss in a moss farm. We've been collecting moss on rocks we destroy so we can kickstart the process. Then we create tree seedlings with some tree seeds. You put these seedlings in a planter box to get some tree module and you mix the rest with ashes and water to get logs in a forestry. Then you cut your logs into wood and proceed to produce cellulose and raw fiber. Along the way we unlock some basic radars. They are very useful to watch the ever-growing starter base. Okay, back to circuits. We are almost done, I swear. Now we get some formaldehyde using the methane we've been accumulating. We shove it into a pulp mill with sap, treated wood and raw fiber to get formica. And use said formica for printed substrate in those PCB thingy blah blah blah. Then we wait for 20 printed substrates to create a chip shooter and... The first use we made of circuits is of course splitters. Ah, now I feel complete. Also, with circuits the copper demand is way higher. I tried the new method of copper processing. It is not that complicated. The way it works is we crush copper ore in a screener. It gives us copper grade 1 and copper grade 2. We need the grade 2 to smelt it, so we can crush the grade 1 into more grade 2. The only problem with this method right now is just that it costs quite a lot. It's 20 circuits to get one screener, so all things considered, the old methods work just fine. Ah, your first splitter is always a cherished moment. You can retire now, old friend. Yes, I automated lamps, but don't get your hopes too high. To ease the burden of handcrafting, I am beginning an industry-related mall. Steam engines and mining drill are on the side now for more convenience. The problem of this mall is that it eats all my small parts, so I just need to do a proper build for those. Now it is about the gardening mall. It is more technical because it requires some specific item depending on the building, but I manage, even though it is less pretty. Those two molds running at 100% drained my iron plate supply. I do need more. This way I can convert the starter patch for steel only. Nope, this is still not working properly, just in case you were wondering. Let's try that. More power, the factory must grow! Alright, enough of basic housekeeping. Time for new stuff, such as titanium. With a mining speed of 200% and mined with acetylene, the ratio for the plates is 10:1 and takes a whole minute to be smelted. Pyanodon introduces a lot of various alloys. The first one is duralumin, which is aluminium and copper plates melted together in this gigantic smelter working with fluids. If you mix coal gas and water, you get syngas. You get some ashes along the way and tar as well as byproducts, but syngas. Add some aromatics to your syngas and you get plastic bars. Sometimes the mod can be nice with you, putting you in a comfort zone, just before kicking you in the balls, several times, in a row, while spitting on you. Because, you see, now it's time for the second science. You might be thinking, oh, that's simple, only 2 ingredients. Well, think again. You naive fools! This is the real recipe. We'll need to create sentient life just to destroy it mercilessly, to extract its essence and transform it for science. So let's get to work. To create said life, we need generic Earth DNA, which is native flora put in a sophisticated bottle and microwaved in an incubator. We also need some moss and petri dish to be microwaved. Well, I don't know, it's science. And a codex for rocks, the creature we want to create. Put it all together in this massive creator chamber to get our first rock module. While we wait for said modules, let's explore a bit more our surroundings. That was some good ride. Back to the rocks. Rocks cocoons grow in the paddock on the left, and cocoons are made in the Jas Club on the right. And once they become adult, we butcher them to get their precious formic acid, and some guts, brains, meat and shitting along the way. The formic acid is the main resource for glassware. The production chain goes like that. First, we have sodium alginate and creamy latex. We mix them with that formic acid to get latex slab, which is then used to get latex, which is part of the rubber stoppers. Rubber stoppers are essential for glassware, but we also need more glass. There is a quartz mine south, conveniently. We put it all together and we get glassware, or half of Pi Science 1. Let's turn to the other half, the basic substrate. It starts with some petri dish that we microwave into an incubated petri dish in this microorganism mine? Oh come on, that's just a giant microwave. Finally, we just have to put the substrate in the glassware in this overly complicated microwave, et voila! Now that we can research level 2 technologies, it requires 2 automation science pack and 1 Pi Science pack per research. So I relocate the production of automation science closer and double it, and also move the labs. The first research we do is electric mining drills. That's gonna make our life easier, trust me. For example, this is the raw coal and the iron mining sites before and after electric mining drills. I then spend the next hours cleaning the base and putting electric mining drills everywhere. Cleaner, easier, and twice as fast. Plus, no ashes anymore! Well, mostly. After that, I make some coke oven gas. It has a high fuel value and the process creates coke directly from raw coal. Coke oven gas is perfect for our next improvement, gas furnaces. No more ash and 4 times the speed. This is so great. I have to admit this is one of my favorite things in Factorio. Cleaning up the factory with new technologies. Alright, this is the final result of all the cleaning up. So much space now on that raw coal patch. Refreshed thanks to all this cleaning, I tackle on the kerosene processing. You see, it is not just the fuel, it can be enhanced. Put it into a retorter and you get shale oil. Crack said oil with steam and you get condensates, light oil and heavy oil. Condensates are quite useless right now, but light oil can be converted into aromatics and heavy oil into kerosene, which has the highest fuel value of them all. I also unlocked a better glass recipe with crushed quartz. If the montage tends to show a smooth and linear progression, I can assure you it is not. I can't show you every trouble I got into, like having too much or too few of certain ingredients. I'm just gonna show you this. I don't have enough ash! Of all things, ash! Can you imagine that? And it blocks my entire science production. And sure enough, look, I don't produce any ash in the center of my base anymore. This all ash facility can go away. Whatever. Let's enjoy this relaxing view of gas furnacing smelting plates. Oh yeah, and along all the problems I have, power is a recurring theme. So maybe geothermal power might be the solution for our energy problem. But I need to find it first. Time for more exploration. Phew, what a ride! But I finally found a source of geothermal power. What's great about it is that it outputs 500 Celsius degree steam power, so the steam engines can work at 100% of their capacity. Alright, let's find another one for safety measures. And I eventually find one north of my base, quite far away. Back at the base, I have empty spaces now. I can fill them with more coke oven gas and more acetylene gas. You know, because I don't have enough of both. As the base keeps growing, so does our needs in metal and not just iron and copper. I unlocked their better variants, so let's build it. Let's begin with lead, because it's easy. Just crush it and smelt it. Tin is a bit more complex and resembles a lot the copper processing. We need tin grade 1, but crushing tin ore also gives tin grade 2. Simply enough, we crush the grade 2 into grade 1 and get some stone in the way. Titanium is almost the same, with one more step. So, we crush the ore into grade 1 and 2. We keep the grade 1 and crush again the grade 2 into the grade 1. Then we pulverize grade 1 into the grade 3 and smelt it. We get titanium rejects in the process, which has a 30% chance to be crushed into a grade 3. I hope this is clear. How about some nickel action to relax? Just one crushing step and it is mined with syngas. All these new recipes create so much stone and gravel they have become the new ash. I swear. Well, I turned them into landfill and that's fine. Alright, enough rest. It is time to tackle antimony. Titanium was a warm-up for what's coming. First, we mine antimony ore with a dedicated antimony drill consuming 1 megawatt of fuel power every second. Then, we crush the ore and get grade 1 and 2 plus some stone and iron oxide. This time, we want to keep the grade 2, so we crush the grade 1 to get more grade 2. After that, we obliterate the grade 2 into the grade 4, the one we actually want to smelt. We also get some grade 3 along the way. Well, you guessed it just has to be crushed into grade 4. Once there, we can use the basic oxygen furnace to smelt the grade 4. We just add plastics and oxygen to get antimony oxide. There is just one tiny little problem. Plastic is at the other end of my base, and it would be quite the super long belt to draw. Well, luckily, the devs have thought about this problem, so they added caravans. They are a great addition before you get trains, and they work almost the same. You just have less options and they consume either food or brains. They use the bitter pathfinding system, and to my surprise, it is quite effective. We just need 2 depots, select them, create a route, and it's good to go. This left only oxygen to be made. We zap water really hard in those electrolyzers, we get rid of the hydrogen, and we are good to go. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that these basic oxygen furnaces, they need solid fuel. That means we have ash back on the menu, boys! And maybe girls. After all the excitement, there is more. The blue patch that was on the left of the screen is called Nexilite, but we can't mine it with a machine. We need Digosauruses. That's right, we are going full Jurassic Park now. So we place a dig site, put the Digosaurus in it with some food, either guts or meat, and it starts mining raw Nexilite. Then we just have to clean it in a washer, then we can smelt it into plates. The point to all these efforts is to produce intermetallics. Now that we have all the necessary ingredients, it is a piece of cake to assemble them. Intermetallics are used in all the other buildings and they are vital to create trains. So are vitrolloy and iron Nexilite antimony alloy. I'm a bit short on Nexilite though, so I use a recipe transforming tar into tailings, then into raw Nexilite. As the byproducts, we vent the flue gas, reuse the salt and water in the base, separate soot and tailings dust into usable ores and smelt them on site thanks to this gigantic deposit. 800 slots. I think we are good for a long time. I know I said I would not bore you with every occurrences of I need more of this and that, but I am very proud of the aesthetic of this coal power plant. Now it is time for zinc to be improved. For that we need new buildings, ball mill and impact crusher made with the newly made intermetallics. We shove zinc and iron sticks into a ball mill to get zinc grade 1, with soil and stone along the way, then we impact crush the grade 1 into the grade 2 and we smelt it. We can get rid of the byproducts by producing sand casting. This is necessary for our next project, chromium. Chromium is mined with syngas. Then we crush the chromium ore in the grade 1, and this is where the process diversifies. We need to separate the grade 1 to get chromite sand. We need this sand to melt chromium plates into a casting unit. Finally, we ship it on the main bus via caravans. With these fresh chromium plates we can now produce medium electric poles. While you weren't looking, I continued the bus and added some buffer chests to ease off the handcrafting for the new buildings. Alright, enough industrial effort, it's back to gardening. Now we want Facorio. I don't know how to pronounce that. We begin with the easy part, spores collected in the air. Then we need a specific codex, some fungi DNA, Facorio modules, and then we can scale up and mass produce them. As you can see, science is not just relevant for research, it can be an ingredient too. And just like that, we are back to a full screen. Facorio is used in pretty much all the food recipes. Here I'm producing rock food in order to increase my production of those lovely animals and tackle on the Mark II variant. It is not too early to produce the Mark II module since the recipe has only a 0.5% to succeed. Maybe by the end of this video I'll have enough Rock Mark II to mass produce them. Oh, and I redid the build, it was kind of too complicated and inefficient. Let me introduce you to the oil burner. Look at that beauty. It is expensive, it is true, but the fact you can just plug in water and oil to get 60 steam per second out is a godsend. This means that this can go away and be replaced by only 2 oil burners for even more steam. Right now we are washing some borax to prepare the next stage of aluminium smelting. For that we also need graphite. We have to send this to the east and I'm getting kind of lazy, so it's gonna be a long ass build. Now we need to crush the aluminium ore into powder. Then throw this powder with borax and graphite in an arc furnace to get molten aluminium. These furnaces are power hungry. 18.6 megawatt each, and I don't have any efficiency module for a long time. Now we can cast the molten aluminum into plates and send them on the bus via a caravan. We are getting closer to the third science. But first, let's go fishing, shall we? Why fishing, you ask? Well, we actually need the precious fish oil to get access to the next logistic fun toys, bots and trains. In order to grow fish, we begin with phytoplankton, which grows with some tin grade 1 thrown in the water. Don't ask me how it works. Then we can grow fish eggs, which require fishes to kickstart the process, hence the fishing. Finally, we can grow the eggs into more fishes in a beautiful circle of life. I tried this Blueprint Sandbox Neat mod, which is kind of a light editor mod in the game. It's very useful to experience building, especially this one because I don't want to lose all my precious fishes. But I kind of misconfigured it and it procced the milestone for fish, so... Anyway, I still had some cores to do, like making lamps on site, augmenting my biomass production, increasing soil and water production, and making oxygen on site. Then can I launch the process for real and collect that precious oil. Now that is done, that means it is time to produce trains. But this is not your typical vanilla train. 10 items to produce a single locomotive, and 3 of them are quite arduous to make. We begin with the shafts, since they are also used in the gearbox recipe, and we end up with bricks. The hardest part is to bring everything accordingly to each recipe. I also make steam engines and storage tanks nearby. And we are good to connect it all for locomotive. At this point in the game I'm still indecisive about using trains. I mean, they are very expensive and I think it's better to have bots to handle it. Okay, I'm just going to let this run in the background and whenever I'm ready I should have enough to be prepared for the transition. As you can see, the logistical nightmare of bringing everything where it should go continues. I feel it has been a long time since I talked about scarce electricity. But be reassured, I have my eyes on a more permanent solution known as high-pressure turbines. But before that, I have some work to do, and bots are my main focus right now. We have two major undertakings: battery and the cyanic acid to make them. This acid comes from literal poop. But before that, I tried to make some polybutadiene for a future rubber build and for taking advantage of the massive steam byproducts for some electricity. The problem is that I'm out of aromatics and gasoline. So, I decided to rebuild the tar cracking to improve production and to make it easier to expand. For this purpose, I think it is the right time to use the Blueprint Sandbox mod. And now, to build it. Tearing down the old one. And by the time we end this, we got our first locomotive. I also take the opportunity to redo the kerosene cracking down south. Well, that's also mainly because the starter stone patch is dry, but you know. After slapping down 2 more copper processing builds, I have way too much stone, so I turned them into landfill just next door. Let's not forget about all the logistic for trains. I really should change my robots. They are losing their sanity faster than I do. This base is at its limits, and I'm not producing enough circuits anymore. So, I increased tin, sap, cellulose, anything to get the correct ratios to produce 0.75 circuits per second, or 45 per minute. Alright, that was a nice break, but I can't run forever. I need to tackle on the next big phases. Ralesias, which are necessary for the next science, and AUX, a giant turtle thingy whose poop makes batteries. They are both a new milestone in difficulty, and here's why. First, we need to liquefy the borax into boric acid, which we transport thanks to the fluid caravan at the end of the bus. Once there, we mix coke and boric acid to get boron trioxide. It allows us to produce optical set. Now we tackle on the black carbon necessary for rubber. We just need to bring the latex and the polybutadiene, and we're done. It is time to make chassis now, but that's quite easy. Finally, we combine these 3 products plus some small parts and we get laboratory instruments. That's 1/3 down. Luckily, the rest requires stuff we already made for Pi Science 1, so it's time for a minibus. Still, we need more, such as hot air, which we get by warming up stone bricks with coke oven gas. The tricky part is that it outputs coke oven gas at 100 Celsius degrees instead of the 250 you put it in. It took me quite a while to realize this, as I thought it was a circular process. We also need Zogna bacteria, and now we have everything we need for cDNA. Yeah, you thought it was for the hogs? You're crazy. Now comes the satisfying part, where we just plug in things where they are needed. In just a few minutes we get plasmids, retroviruses, and cDNA up and running. Oh, yes, motherfucker! Oh, c'était quand même vachement compliqué. With this major milestone we can really begin with the Ralesias. We need a codex, some DNA and a module to start the real production, nothing new. We also need more native flora. Like moondrops, we need to be careful about the balance of seeds and flowers, but overall it goes smoothly. We plug in hydrogen and we are good to go. It is the org's turn now. Since it follows the same principle of creating a module to kickstart the process, we can recycle the Ralesia build for that and add a creator chamber, and we are good to wait. Once we get 2 org modules, we can put them in the jazz club to get org pups and then make these pups grow into strong adults in the org paddock. Now we can collect their sweet, sweet poop. Turn it liquid to get urea, split said urea into ammonia and cyanic acid, then turn those 2 fluids into melamine, and we have 2 of the main ingredients for the battery. Actually, orgs are not just useful for their poop, they can also generate power by walking in circle in this our powered generator. They get tired, it is true, and they need vacation, it is true, but we have a nice resort for that. They can get rest and food. I'm starting to think these animals are happier than me. Whew, this is quite a ride, but we are not done yet. We need robots and we need batteries. Therefore, I rebuild rubber to get some belts. Then I smelt lead and antimony into an alloy. This means we have now everything necessary for both battery production and robot production. We plug it in and we have... It seems I'm creating too many orgs. But that's nothing a slaughterhouse can fix. Oh come on, I'm not a monster. Look, I produce them good food for the resort. After all that time and effort, here they are, Pyanodons. And Roboports as well. Actually, the Roboports have a larger logistic zone, huh? Oh, they are so slow. Okay, it's the game. I wanted to do this fair, kind of, so now my early bots can retire as I will rely only on the Pyanodons. Unfortunately, I lost the footage of the construction of this tiny but powerful power generation setup, and also of the mechanical part shenanigan. For the latter it is not as bad since it was a raw automated process to get me what I needed to build the heat exchanger, high pressure turbines, salt mine, coal power plant. Okay, it's actually a big deal. But the idea is that we smelt salt, heat it, then cooled it with pressurized water to get 1000 Celsius degree pressurized steam converted into 473 megawatts of power. And the beauty in that is that it's a circular, nigh infinite process. Though it is expensive to build it, I think we are done with power problems. And yes, that's more power than my entire setup of coal power down south. With so much electric power, I felt confident enough to start a train center base with city blocks. I wanted it to be snapped to the absolute grid, but I did not succeed to make this happen and abandoned the idea to focus only on the third science. The reason for that choice is not just because I suck at imaginating and creating a logistical network centered around trains. It is because the logistical science allows to research quite quickly a lot of new processes for metal smelting, and if I have to redo my entire base, then it will be easier to do it while having access to better smelting recipes. There is only a tiny little issue, is that the starter base is actually on its knees trying to make everything functional. Nonetheless, I do use the roboports in the base and change most buffer chests with logistical chests for future expansion. I also do a test run of my city block design, and oh, it is so slow. I really need more bots. I'm so close yet so far. While I wait for the research to finish, I begin the cotton gut build. It is horrendously long and complex. It begins as usual, codex, DNA, module. But this time, the modules are only modules. That's right, we need two systems of reproduction. One for the studs, which are the module maker, and one for the cotton guts themselves. For the studs, we need cotton gut food, which requires starch and a lot of Ralesia seeds, plus some fiberboard, for some reason. The starch outputs some biomass, which is actually beneficial for us later. Then we put it all in an assembler and we serve it cold. To begin with the cotton gut process, we use this recipe for stud pup. It works 80% of the time for what we want. We also get a 50% chance to get all of our adults back, and a 50% chance to get normal pup for the next process. It is actually our only way to get them pups. Then we do the exact opposite by growing one stud pup into an adult one. It is slow, but it is also consistent. And I need way more Ralesia seeds. That's almost done, just waiting on the pups. While this works in the background, I check the recipe for the third science and prepare in advance what we'll need. Starting with the poor alien sample next to the slaughterhouse for obvious reason, then bone meal and biological sample. Well, thinking of percentage results, how much rock mark II do I get now? 4. Whoa! It's a good thing I started that early. This is the subcritical water using our excess in biomass and used for depolymerized water. Ah, finally the research is over. I can use the recipes now. The solidified sarcoras is the main reason we had to go through all this mess with cotton guts in the first place. But it is almost over. Do you feel it? Just more cotton guts and more Ralesias. And we are done! Barely, on our knees, with the dying base, almost out of steel. But here we are the Logistical Science. Whew, what an adventure! But I feel the worst is yet to come. Nonetheless, I do feel proud and ready to face the challenge. So this is where we depart for now, and as we say in my country, ce n'est qu'un au revoir.